Welcome to the show for baseball fans by baseball fans. DingerBats.com presents Full Count, the podcast. Now here are your hosts, Keith Gibson and DingerBats owner, Kyle Drone.
Happy Saturday morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Full Count. I am Keith Gibson. Alongside me, my tag team partner and good friend and owner of Dinger Bats, Kyle Drone. We've got a lot to discuss this week. We're glad you're here with us. We hope you had a great Labor Day weekend. Kyle, long weekend last weekend. I'm sure you were probably in the shop a little bit. Those orders just keep flying in, don't they?
Yeah, a little bit of time in the shop, but a little bit of relaxation at home. Couldn't have asked for two better days of weather. Kind of wish I'd have got out on a boat or something, but we just kind of did some stuff around the home area, went down to Garden of the Gods and had a picnic, that kind of thing. So it was pretty chill.
Trade you. I had sick kids.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
It's all right. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's good because you can just chill.
It's true.
And it was a good weekend to chill. So, but no, good weekend. Glad Labor Day's over. I hope everybody had a safe one. And baseball is now into the final month of the season, regular season. We are into September. Races are heating up, especially the wild card races, and we'll touch base on that, so stay with us here, and we'll get to that later in the show. But we're going to talk Hall of Fame. The 2020 inductees went in this week. Two former Cardinals. I'll just throw it out there now so I don't have to hear about it later. But no, and probably the greatest shortstop ever to play the game, in my eyes, was inducted. We'll talk about minor league baseball and housing and what Major League Baseball needs to do to take care of its prospects who are so important to them. We're going to talk about that later in the show as well, and what changes need to be made there. Then we're going to talk about the stolen base and the lost art form of the stolen base. The days of yore, Kyle Drone, of Vince Coleman and Ricky Hendosock, and the guys who
Rock Reigns.
Rock. I love me some Rock, especially when it was at Expos. But, we'll discuss and dissect that a little bit and talk about how baseball maybe can get back to it. So we'll discuss that later in the show, so stick around with us. But, Kyle Drone, are you ready to go for another episode of Full Count?
Let's do it.
Let's do it, Daddy-O. Let's start by going around the horn and talk about 2020 Hall of Fame inductees. Of course, there was because of COVID last year, no induction ceremony. They did it Wednesday afternoon in Cooperstown. And the three 2020 inductees, New York Yankees shortstop, Derek Jeter, Larry Walker, and Ted Simmons, all inducted into the Hall of Fame this week. All three most deserving, without a doubt, in my eyes. Simmons, of course, gets in by the Veterans Committee, but Walker and Jeter in. So let's start with Ted Simmons. Former St. Louis Cardinal catcher, switch hitter, kind of, in my eyes, looking back and listening to his speech today. By the way, an elegant speech by Ted Simmons. If you haven't got a chance to listen to him yet, make sure you do, especially his. Both Walker's and Jeter's were good. But Ted really said some important things in his speech. Yep. And one was baseball will come back full circle. And guys will learn to hit past the shift. Guys will learn to put bunts down. He said everything will come back. You'll see more base hits and stolen bases and things like that. You just won't see the walks, home runs, and low batting averages. So I thought that was very, very important for people to hear. But a great speech by Ted Simmons this week at the Cooperstown induction ceremony. Let's talk Ted. Remember the Cardinals, remember the Brewers, remember a couple other teams, remember the front office. He's been in baseball for a long time, and you said before we came on the show, 22-year career. What do you remember about Ted Simmons besides his ice cream?
Besides what?
Besides his ice cream.
He's he was done playing before I was really watching ball, but watching the videos, I've actually had the pleasure of being around him quite a bit, and he's a tremendous guy, great baseball guy. Love to hear the stories. His longevity, playing arguably one of the hardest positions on the field, being a switch hitter, hitting 200 plus home runs, the RBIs, just being consistent, I think that kind of stands for itself, especially in the era he played in.
When he retired, and I didn't realize this, he led all catchers in the history of the game in hits and doubles.
I didn't know that either.
And he led all switch hitting catchers in home runs when he retired.
He's almost got 2,500 hits, which is pretty amazing, especially playing the backstop position.
Right, because at that time it was the catcher was different back then. I mean, you took some balls, you took some bumps, you got ran over. It was not
a lot of off days.
No, no, and
tape those jam fingers up and play.
And he played on the turf in St. Louis. Yep. So that turf, there was a lot of hot days. It may have been only 85 degrees out, but that turf made it 105.
Right.
So
if not hotter.
But right. Yeah, exactly. So kudos to Ted. Enjoyed watching some highlights of him this week as well. And I'm glad they got to have he deserves it more than anything. And he said one of his biggest advocates during his speech was Paul Molitor. Paul Molitor wanted to push and said he deserved it, along with Bud Selig. Hold your booze, people. Hold your booze for Bud. But they were both advocates of him get in. Of course, both Brewers, and he played a while with the Brewers as well. But no, Ted Simmons, without a doubt, and you start looking at his numbers, they're pretty impressive.
Yeah, they are.
Do you have his numbers by chance?
Oh, yes, I do.
Well, I just figured you might.
And I just, okay. 2,472 hits. 1,400 RBIs almost. Let's see what else we got here. Can't scroll over because that's all he did.
That's all right.
For some reason, I can't scroll over to home runs, but I know it's over 200 and doubles that you said he led all catchers.
Right.
When he ended his career. So,
yeah, an impressive career. 22 years. That's one of the most impressive things. That's something you just don't see anymore, especially from a backstop. How many years is Yachty in now?
I think next year will be 20.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think this is 19 for him. It might be him and Wainwright the same. They may be right on the same pace. Maybe a year off from each other, but long-term careers with the same team, essentially. I mean, Waino never came up with the Braves, I don't believe. So he played, all his big league stuff or big league games with Cardinals. So it's pretty amazing.
And the Cardinals do have, they're a franchise and an organization. I'll give them kudos. Guys that come up with them, unless the Cardinals trade them away, they stay with the organization. You look at guys like Ozzie. You look at guys like Yachty. You look at guys like Waino. Who else came up that I can think of? Pendleton got traded, but Pendleton was there for a long time at third base.
Yep.
Tommy Herr, guys like that, Willie McGee. Well, if McGee wouldn't get traded to Oakland, he might have stayed a Cardinal the entire time. So,
yeah. And he's still involved in the Cardinal, system, as a coach.
Right.
So, even if they, don't stay with them throughout their entire career, sometimes it's just a business move. Then, but they usually end up coming back or being a part of it because it really is, kind of a family there.
Yes, it is, and that's why they have the longevity, and the organization is respected the way it is. Let's talk about another guy who spent a lot of times in St. Louis, has a very good career, mainly known for his time in Colorado when it is a Rocky as well, and that is one Larry Walker. Larry Walker surprisingly had great numbers outside of Coors Field as well. The guy could flat out just hit. Yeah. I think 3 batting titles. He was, I think, a 7 or 8 time All-Star. Larry Walker was a 3-time Gold Glover as well. So a guy who played right field, could hit, could throw, had a cannon of an arm.
Yeah, he had a cannon. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Could run a little bit for a big guy.
Right, and he gave you all the tools you wanted. May not have been the best at everything, but he was pretty dang good. Yeah,
and he still says his best sport was hockey.
That's still crazy. He's Canadian. He is Canadian.
Yes. No, he said, I've talked to him as well. Great guy. He said that growing up, his best sport was always hockey. Baseball was kind of, the second thing he was, the secondary sport for him.
if he's a Hall of Famer in baseball, I mean, I'd like to see him on some skates and see what he can do in hockey. Maybe not now, but younger career.
I'm not 100%, but I believe he was a goalie. But he's a big dude. If he was that good, then yeah, he would have been a Hall of Famer there too.
He was part of that team in Colorado when you had Bichette, Castilla, him, Helton, those
Big Cat.
Yep, Galarraga was there as well. It's kind of crazy how good those Rocky teams were if they ever got some pitching.
Yeah, well,
because offensively,
even if you got pitching, it's just tough to pitch in Colorado.
Right. Yeah. What's your take on Larry Walker though? A guy who shot up from he was 22 points away, shot up 22 points to get in his last year of eligibility. Well deserved. Were you surprised it took that long? That like it had to take that big of a jump to get in for a guy who was basically a 5-tool player.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that he undoubtedly deserved it. My, question about it all is the whole system and why, because there's other players with similar numbers. One that pops off to me is, Fred McGriff. Him and Larry Walker, if you put their numbers side by side, very similar. But then if you put the winning, then McGriff's way heavy on that because they virtually won every division championship in the 90s. Unfortunately, they only won one World Series, I believe. But, they were at the top. They dominated that entire time. So I don't know if it was a matter of certain people fell off that might have took some of his percentage at that time. Maybe it's a timing thing. Maybe, it wasn't so fortunate for McGriff, all the times he's on. I really don't know. I mean, I think they're both deserving, and I really think they need to look at some amendments or some changes to how they choose Hall of Famers. I don't think writers, first of all, should be the ones to do it. I think your peers, your players that have been there and done that. I'm not saying that. Well, actually, I am saying I'd say there's a high majority of writers that have never played at the level these guys play at. So how can they accurately judge? Now, they can analyze like we're doing. We can analyze things up and down, whatever. But by no means are we an authority. When I'm trying to judge Larry Walker and his actual ability and what he did. That's why I love being around the players when they talk about each other.
Right.
And how this, they'll talk about a player that we don't necessarily think is tremendous. And they're like, this guy, you couldn't get him out, whatever. And I'm just like, that's interesting to me. So I really think even if they keep the Writers Association in it or whatever, there should be a heavy influence by the players. And it shouldn't be just past Hall of Famers. It should be peers, like people that played against these guys a number of years to have some type of authority of an opinion.
I would like to see it be almost a consensus of the writers get a certain percentage of the vote, the Hall of Famers get a percentage of the vote, and then peers get a certain percentage of the vote as well.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that as well. I just think it needs to be split. It just needs to be changed some way.
Yep, agreed.
Because just like when like Jeter, did he just get one non-vote or two or something?
One, yeah.
That's ridiculous. If that was all his peers, nobody has a question. There's no thought. I mean, everybody across Major League Baseball that played against him would go for it. And then you got one writer that wants to get his name mentioned, which we won't mention because it doesn't matter anyway. No way.
Right. It's a great point, Kyle. And the fact that the writer just wants his name out there and knows if he does this, it's going to be mentioned to someone. And but that's the state we're in with these writers too, and media is, and even doing this show, we're part of that somewhat, but we're also down to earth and know that hey, our opinions really don't matter when it comes down to thick things. Mine may be more than yours, but whatever.
Yours is definitely more than mine.
No, but anyway, but no, there's no point because Derek Jeter, day in and day out, is a Hall of Fame, first ballot. Put him on there, put him in, and there's no reason not to vote him in.
Absolutely.
But Larry Walker's, I believe, the same way. But that's a great point of comparison of him and the crime dog. Fred McGriff.
Yeah, I
was
was a big fan of his as well.
I was too, especially when that windmill swing coming out.
Yeah.
He had that, but he was traveled too, McGriff.
Well, but if you look at his, and he luckily, even when he was playing at different cities, he was in the playoffs. I think he was part of the Blue Jays runs, and so he was in the playoffs a lot more than Larry Walker. So his sample size in the playoffs is a lot bigger, but you should look at that sometime. He's got some numbers that are pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's over 300 home runs. McGriff's big time doubles. He's carried, I think, just below a 280 average. So very respectable that way. I think McGriff's a guy that deserves to be in, and for some reason is overlooked. The numbers aren't flashy by any means. They're not like, top 10 in every single category. I mean, he didn't have stolen bases. He wasn't a speed guy, but by any means. But he played great defense. He put up offensive numbers, and as you said, he was
had a great
winner.
Nickname. And he had a great nickname.
Right, the crime dog. I mean, but yeah, McGriff played in, let's see, if I remember this right, Toronto, San Diego, Atlanta, Chicago, Tampa Bay, and I think that's it. I think he may spend 1 year somewhere else, but maybe.
Yeah, Tampa Bay back when it was the Devil Rays,
right?
And they had when they were first coming up, or first an expansion team,
right?
But I think he played with Wade Boggs there. That's where I think Wade Boggs got his 3,000 hit as a Devil Ray.
That's correct. Speaking of Wade Boggs, it's a great segue there. Let's talk about the last man who was inducted. Boggs was a Red Sox, but then came over to play for the Yankees and won a World Series title with them. And he had a great young shortstop next to him when that happened, and that is the captain, Derek Jeter. Still one of my favorite commercials of all time is when he retired, was the Gatorade commercial and the Nike commercial, just the respect that he's given from his peers, from everybody around baseball, fans. You don't have to be a Yankee fan. You can hate the Yankees if you want. But you respect Derek Jeter just for how he plays the game, how he handles himself, and I'm a big Jeter fan, always will be. In fact, when I played softball and I wanted to play short, and I have no shame in admitting that the guys called me Fat Jeter, so it's okay. It was all out of love, but I take that as a compliment because they could have called me Neffy Perez. Short and round. But no. Derek Jeter was one of my favorite players of all time. Too bad he was a Yankee, but he also brought legitimacy to that club. And to see him come up with guys like Mariano, Jorge, Posada, guys like that who stuck together, Andy Pettit, those guys were so tight-knit because they were all homegrown. And they all stuck together, most of them, except for Pettit.
You know who also was in that class who ended up becoming the Pirates manager?
Lloyd Mcclendon?
No, Shelty.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Shelty he was in that same class he came up with Jeter and Posada and got hurt, as I understand it, and was actually having a good year, hitting 320 in A-ball or whatever, and just decided that coaching and managing was the way he wanted to go. So, but that's crazy that he came up with those guys, was coming up with those guys. Yeah,
but that was just a tight knit group. I mean, you look away when Rivera retired. Andy Pettit and Jeter came out the mound and they took the ball from him. Jeter walks off on his last bat against the Orioles, a walk-off single.
I was. My wife and I were watching that, and I was sitting there going, "Watch this, watch this."
I was the same way.
I said, right field. I didn't think it was going to be the walk-off or whatever, but I'm like, it was unbelievable. It was almost like I called it, and you called it too. So,
there. If you watched Jeter at all, you knew what was coming.
Yeah. I mean, you felt like you did. You'd seen it so many times before.
Right. And you remember his play in the playoffs against Oakland. When he came as a shortstop, came all the way across the field to take the cutoff and the flip. When he dives into there, he just played the game with pure baseball passion, and that's what I enjoyed the most of watching Derek Jeter.
Yeah, and those instances don't happen by chance. he probably, you know, just because he puts himself available at every play and then he made a few, you know, that just shows you the type of player he was. He probably did that so many more times than we saw it, but it would, you know, made it set up for those big moments.
Correct. And it's just, I don't know if we'll see another shortstop like him for a long time. In fact, you know, if you look at his numbers, 3,465 hits.
Yep.
First all-time as shortstop. 1,923 runs. First all-time shortstop. 870 extra base hits. That's third all-time. 73.1 WAR. Wins above replacement as a shortstop. That's sixth all-time. And he hit a career 310. That's seventh all-time. So to me, I don't know if you'll... And the longevity... Defensively, the way he played, multiple Gold Glover, multiple World Series champion. You can say all you want about the Yankees, but he was also the captain. He was the glue that kept everything together.
Yeah, and he was the captain early on. And that's what I was about to say. Like, even if some other phenomenal shortstop matches the numbers or, you know, passes him, you're never going to match his leadership in his class.
Correct.
Just the way he, you know, ran the most storied franchise of all time and brought those championships. You know, I think they had a three-peat in there, right? Like 98, 99, 2000. I mean, when will you ever see that again?
They're the last team to do
baseball.
So they're the last team to do it, and so it'll be. I don't think you will, Kyle, and because it's just so hard now with everybody moving around. But yeah, kudos to our three Hall of Famers: Derek Jeter, Larry Walker, and Ted Simmons, the 2020 Hall of Fame inductees. Now, the 2021 class will go in, I believe they said early August, late July, early August next year. So
okay.
So it'll be interesting.
So it's going to be a year behind every year now? Or?
I think that's what I understood. Maybe I may be wrong on that. I'll have to look that up. But or it's coming. I'd have to look it up. That's what I thought I understood today when they were talking at the end of the speeches. So, hey, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk minor league housing and how Major League Baseball can make it where they take care of their prospects maybe a little bit better than what they are. You're listening to Full Count at DingerBats.com on a 103.5 ESPN Radio.
Today's episode of Full Count is brought to you by Ford of Tuscola.
Check out the all-new Ford of Tuscola. It's a small-town feel with great big deals. Pre-owned vehicles starting at $24.95. Online at FordofTuscola.com or call 217-253-3353.
Welcome back to Full Count. Keith Gibson, Kyle Drone with you here again on this Saturday morning. Don't forget, we've got our Dinger Bats Full Count Strikeout Hunger charity golf event coming up on October 16th at Tuscola at Iron Horse Golf Club. Got a couple spots, a couple teams opening up this week, Kyle. So if you are looking to get a team, contact me at fullcounthost@gmail.com. Shoot us a message on Facebook. We've got 2 teams open. We'd love to have you. Going to be a great time with a lot of swag. Got some swag bags. Got a lot of giveaways and a lot of great things coming that way as well. So $300 for a foursome, or if you're a business and want to become a partner with us as well, it's $350 to give it to a sponsor and get a foursome in. So pretty cheap, if you ask me, for a fun day golf. On the course, I was down there this week, Kyle, checking it out. Course is in immaculate shape. They've aerated the greens. I mean, it should knock off at least 4 to 5 shots off our score.
Good. I was hoping for some kind of edge.
Yeah.
Little home court advantage there.
Yeah, it's a tough course. It is, but it's fun. So, but hey, let's get back into baseball here, and the CBA is coming up, of course, this year. And one of the topics that has came up has been how organizations and teams are going to deal with minor league housing or giving minor league housing. Some of these minor leaguers have said they've slept in cars. Cody Decker's one that I've heard talk on multiple occasions how he and 7 others have stayed in a house together just to have somewhere to sleep, and they slept on cots. You yourself have been around minor league baseball a lot. You yourself played minor league baseball. What is your thoughts on these organizations? The prospects are where everything's at right now in baseball, taking better care of their prospects in the minors and maybe setting up a dorm or somewhere where they feel more comfortable, can get more rest, and they don't have to worry about making ends meet. Is the pay need to go up in minor league baseball so they can afford housing, or what's your thoughts on this?
I think what's going to happen is, and I did experience, some of the players in AA where I worked as a bullpen catcher. There was guys in a 2-bedroom apartment that was like 8 deep. They had blow-up mattresses all over the front. They had no furniture, just blow-up mattresses all over the house. And, that's kind of what it was. I mean, you're paving the way for the dream, back then. But, times have changed. I'm afraid if you start doing that, because they already have at their spring training facilities, at least in Florida, Pirates have Pirate City. They have a dormitory. Like the kids go, they have their own apartment, dorm. They've got breakfast in the morning, lunch, dinner, everything served. You've got schedules, for your workouts. And I even think they have some class time, mostly baseball related, but, I think some of it's financial help. Some of it's, how to conduct yourself, both on and off the field, that type of stuff. And I know some of the other teams have done that. I feel like if they push for this too hard, then they're just going to move all minor league baseball down to those places in Florida and Arizona, and the rest of the country is going to be deprived of that. Or they do that and then they push it out to independent ball, which they have done, and they affiliate with Major League Baseball as far as their agreements. They can sign players back and forth, whatnot. Basically, that's how Major League Baseball has got around this. Now they're not paying for that guy, and that guy's in the same situation, except he's doing it in Marion, Illinois, or, Springfield, Illinois, or, any number of these, independent league teams. Evansville's got one, Danville, I think.
Yep.
So, I mean, they're going to figure out a way to skate that, I feel like, and it's only going to deprive fans of baseball, because if indie ball teams have to now start doing that, then they're going to have to charge more, then the ticket price goes up, and then your fan base goes down, because not every minor league club has that corporate sponsorship and that fan base that can just withstand these years.
So say, I love that point. That's a great point, and your perspective is fantastic. I'm going to look at it from an organizational standpoint here, though. If I'm an organization and I've got these top prospects, top 30 prospects, say 10, 12 top 100 prospects, and I've got a great farm system, you're not a top 100 prospect.
No, I'm raising my hand.
Oh, okay. My point is, though, don't you want to make sure they're well taken care of? They're rested up. They're getting the proper rest. They're getting, they're not sleeping on an air mattress where they could tweak something, sleeping.
Well, let's just put it this way: their top prospects are fine. If I'm signing you as a top prospect and you're making, a bonus of, even let's say $500,000, if you can't find yourself housing, I mean, I got to rethink why I signed you if you're sleeping in your car.
That's a great point. That's a wonderful point. Okay, let's look at the other end then. Let's talk about low-level prospects, guys who are working and grinding every single day, trying to fill a dream and get to the show. These are the guys that are eating ramen noodles and peanut butter and jelly and sharing one plate in a house of 8. How is it salary that maybe just needs bumped up a little bit? Or
I don't think you're going to bump salary up enough to negate those costs. You're still going to have guys. So say you come to an agreement with the Players Association and you bump that salary up to sufficiently to lifestyle, bring it up to cost of living, to whatever that number is. You're still going to get 6 guys, because I'd be this guy, to take, I'm making more money. If we all stay together, I can save more money. And they're still going to live the same lifestyle. So the argument there is, I can see it from I don't know. I can see both sides, but I can also see how each side can skate around it. And then this player's not performing because he's made the more money, but he's still doing the same thing. And there's no proof that a good night's sleep is going to make you a better ball player. Look at Mickey Mantle.
Well, that's a great point. The old Mick,
So, I mean,
the Mick didn't sleep a whole lot.
I mean, the grinders are going to grind, and they're going to do whatever it takes to get there anyway. So I'm not saying they don't deserve something, but I feel like if you provide housing, then they're going to somehow take it away and kind of do what they did last time by dropping 130 clubs and now putting it on independent leagues. And then there's no real stability there because any one of those clubs could have a bad year and go under.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yep. I do.
So then you got to find another club over here in, Sheboygan or wherever they.
Of all the places you could name, you name Sheboygan.
Yeah, I don't know why.
That's fantastic. No, I understand completely what you're saying. I just, it was something that was brought up, and I kind of caught my eye, and I thought, that'd be a good topic for us to discuss here on Full Count. So,
absolutely,
it'll be
I'm
interesting to see what the CBA kind of does and what it will come out to do. Now, you will know this. I don't know this answer, but you might. Do minor leaguers pay for their own? They pay for their own travel, hotels, stuff like that?
No.
Okay, so the organizations pay for that.
The organization pays for that, and so here's the other thing too. From my understanding, is the organization pays the players. The owner of the club pays for everything else. Pays for the travel, pays for the hotel, pays for the food, whatnot. So, but they also reap all the benefits of ticket sales. Now, there may be a cut or some type of split in there that Major League Baseball gets, but from what I understand, they get majority of it, for them providing a place for their players to play. But with that, say you get the top prospect that draws really big for you, and Major League, the Major League team wants him, you're out. So you may have this, phenomenal Tatis for 2 months, and you may be getting the best attendance you ever had, corporate sponsors, this and that, and then the big team brings him up, and you're and then you've
SOL.
Then you got John DeWitt playing shortstop. Nobody's coming to see that.
Right. Like one of us. Nobody's going to come see us play.
Yeah, I'd go see Fat Jeter.
Well, thank you. I'm pretty good. Pretty good. Anyway, great subject. Let us know what you think. Should there be a change to minor league housing? What should Major League Baseball do to take care of its prospects? Because that is the name of the game. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, and we're going to talk Wild Card. It's heating up in both sides, American League and National League, especially the National League. And I know you're just itching to say it. The Cardinals are only 3.5 back, so it's okay.
Only 3.5 back.
So we'll be right back here on Full Count. You're listening to us at dingerbats.com on 103.5 ESPN Radio.
Kester Homes is your full-service real estate team. They work all of Champaign County and a full 60-mile radius around. What really sets Kyle, Tiffany, and their team apart is they work with home buyers, home sellers, and build new construction homes. So they really are seeing all angles of the real estate industry, from existing homes, investment properties, and new construction. Contact Kester Homes at 217-390-5953 or visit online at kesterhomes.com. That's KOESTER homes.com. Kester Homes is a licensed real estate broker with the Keller Williams Real Estate Center of Illinois.
Back here on a Saturday morning on Full Count, Keith Gibson, Kyle Drone with you. Hope you've had a good cup of coffee this morning. You've enjoyed the first part of the show as we've talked to 2020 Hall of Fame inductees, Derek Jeter, Larry Walker, and Ted Simmons. And we've also talked about minor league baseball housing and how that should change. So what's your opinion on that? Make sure you give it to us. Make sure you join our Facebook group, Full Count the Podcast, and let us know what your opinions, and share that with all your friends, so we can keep growing. And let us know if you like the video portion of the show now, because if you're just listening to us, downloading the podcast, or listening to us on 103.5 ESPN radio, we do have a video portion that you can go on and watch it right there, either on Dinger Bats' Facebook page or on our Full Count the Podcast Facebook group. So join that, and we'll get taken, and you can enjoy seeing both of our mugs as beautiful as they are every Saturday morning. But, Kyle Jerome, let's talk wild card standings. It is down to the last 2 weeks of the season. And, yes, your Cardinals are close. We'll get to that in just a minute. Let's talk American League first, though. You got 4 teams right there in the thick of it. The Yankees up are the first wild card team, a half game over the Red Sox. And then you got Toronto 2 out, the Mariners 2.5, and Oakland 3.5. And the Angels 9, so that pretty much just they're pretty much done, especially with Trout not coming back. But
right.
American League East could have 3 teams in again this year in the playoffs. Yankees,
I think they do.
I think they will too, without a doubt. Whether it be Toronto or Boston, I think one of those two ends up there. I'd be surprised if it was Mariners, even though the Mariners came out this week and said you will have to show vaccination cards and everything when during the postseason. So they're already banking that they're getting in, which I'm like, you might want to held off on that until you made sure you got in. But, it's the Mariners, and they don't do anything. Hey, but I told you at the beginning of the year, I did make this
it's
call.
worth a shot, right?
Right. I did say the Mariners might be a sleeper team this year, and here they are at the end, only 2.5 out. So I wasn't far off.
But I think, the pitching of Toronto stepped up, and the leadership of Marcus Semien of late has been unbelievable, and those youngsters have just been following suit, and I think they're the team that's going to make the big push these last 10 games or so.
Well, we'll see what happens here. I'm going up Sunday, tomorrow, to watch the Sox and the White Sox, Red Sox game at Guaranteed Rate Field. So interested to see what happens there. Interested to see what kind of the Sox are doing. I'm excited to see, hopefully, my boy Kyle Schwarber. Devers is going to be there. It'll just be fun because I picked the White Sox to win it all. So now I get my eyes on the prize.
Right.
But Oakland.
Put your name in all Red Sox.
Yeah. But I don't like to talk about Eloy because that trade still bugs me big time. But it's all right. But, I agree with you on Toronto. They're getting Kevin Biggio back here soon, too, as well. He's in a rehab. They just keep getting offensively better. And you're right, the pitching's come along, which has kind of been surprising. I don't know if they can overtake the Red Sox, though. Sale looked good this week again. He
can't pitch every week.
Well, he can't pitch every week, not every day, though.
Tampa Bay put it on him pretty good.
Yes. But Oakland, you think Oakland done?
I think it's going to be close. I think they're going to just be, 500 the rest of the way out, and this is not going to be enough.
Seattle, same way?
Yeah. This way, they kind of feel like they kind of had their hot run, and they're kind of going to fizzle out. They're going to hit some I think their schedule gets a little bit tougher, either them or Oakland. I can't remember which one I looked at. Their last 10 games are pretty tough.
So it comes down to the Yankees, Red Sox, and Blue Jays. Yankees only a half game up, so that all 3 of these teams can flip-flop.
Yeah, it could very easily be Boston and Toronto.
It could be they could either any 2 of the 3. Somebody's going to be left out in the cold. Let's just put it that way.
That's for sure.
Which team gets left out in the cold?
Right now I'm saying Boston.
Wow.
They impressed me the least.
Is it because the Yankees just seem to have that, I don't know, since the trade deadline seem to have that it factor?
Yeah, for some reason. They had some very iffy back into the bullpen issues, like right after the trade deadline or after the All-Star break, but they've seemed to get that all worked out, and now that was really what was costing them a lot of ball games. So they kind of got clicking on all cylinders. So I feel like they're going to get it in. I don't think they're going to make a big impact in the playoffs, but they're going to get in.
They went on a 2-8 stretch as of Wednesday. They were 2-8 in the last 10. Toronto 9-1, and you're right. Marcus Semien is going to make a boatload of money this offseason. He signed a 1-year deal, bet on himself with Toronto, and it has paid dividends. What, he's got 37 homers? Right around there?
Yeah, 37 or 38. Last week he hit 5 or 6.
Right. Yeah, and you're talking about a guy who wasn't really sure. He's shortstop in Oakland, moves to Toronto, comes over here, plays second base now, plays a great second base defensively, and has been really the key. And Teoscar Hernandez, same way. I think he's going to have a big payday. They've got some guys that, even though they're young, they need Simeon's a guy I would wrap up quickly if I'm the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I think that'd be great because you got a few years of Springer coming back. You've got all your young guys that haven't been paid yet, aren't going to be paid for a couple years. Just Teosco. Lock those guys up. Those are your leadership right now to hand the torch off to these guys, in the next 3 to 4 years.
Yep. And
because you're definitely going to want to keep, Biggio, Bichette, and Guerrero, if at all possible. But that means those older guys have, it'll be a passing of the torch.
Correct. But I'm going to go with the Yankees being the odd team out.
Okay.
I think down the stretch these last 2 weeks, I don't think the Yankees have enough starting pitching. And I just think it's Toronto and Boston ends up in, and the Yankees on the outside looking out. I hope so, because I really don't want to see Anthony Rizzo in the playoffs because he needs to come back to Chicago. But that's just a personal thing. Let's go into National League now. Kind of the same way. 3.5 kind of seems to be the number in the wild card. San Diego right now is your second wild card team, tied with Cincinnati here. Both teams struggling here as of late in the last 2 weeks. Cincinnati was red hot and then just fell off the face of the earth. I think they dropped 7 or 8 straight. They finally beat the Cubs last Sunday. Almost got swept by the Cubs. Hey, by the way, who won 7 in a row? Way to kill your draft stock, people. Way to kill your draft stock. But now you have the Phillies 2 games back, and your Cardinals 3.5 back. Mets 4 back. Yeah. But, your Cardinals, once again, staying right in it. And there's a chance.
Just staying around, playing 500 ball, just kind of slow and steady, waiting to make that, run out. Everybody else has, had the up week, the down week. If the Cardinals can pull off one of those 7 in 3 weeks, I mean, they could get there.
It'd make me puke if that happens. I'm not going to lie to you. But they have a tough schedule. We went over that last week. It's not going to be easy for them to have a 7 in 3 week.
But they played well against this tough schedule this week.
Yep. Just like Reyes gave up the walk-off grand slam last weekend. But it's okay.
I mean, that was, I wasn't counting that game.
Okay.
You're the one that said keep him in the pen. I said
start. Well, after that, I saw that. Now he's 5-8 or 5-9, whatever it is. I may throw him back in the rotation because, he just doesn't fit. So, anyway, all right, let's talk about this. San Diego, Cincinnati, both teams struggling. San Diego has really struggled the second half. Cincinnati's kind of came on. They fall off. They're on. They're off. Philly may be the team that has been hot and has kind of stayed consistent as well.
Yeah.
Are they the team that slides in and bumps everybody out?
Yeah, I feel like they got the best chance. Anything can happen, obviously, but they got some good leadership in Girardi. They got some veteran players, with Gregorius and Harper and Romilto, even McCutcheon in left field. I mean, they've got the team that can do it. The pitching's there, so we'll see. But obviously from a fan standpoint, I'm hoping the Cardinals.
I know that
slide in. So, but it's a tight race, and it's going to come down to these 10 games, and 7-3 might be enough to do it. 8-2 even. Who knows?
You're exactly right. Who knows? The Cardinals don't have it easy, but none of these teams are. It's a dog days of summer.
You get a lot of these. You watch these games. And you'll have San Francisco playing Miami. Miami will take 2 out of 3. And you're like, you got these spoilers out there that aren't ready to give up and lay down.
Well, that's just like the Cubs. Look
Chicago
at the Cubs.
Won 7 in a row. Yeah.
Right. And you're getting the contributions from Frank the Tank Schwindel.
Yeah.
Who?
They're all trying to make the club next year.
Who?
To them, this is their interview.
That you're exactly right. It is right now, and this is where they can make a shine and want to make the club, and I think that's part of the reason that those guys and of course I'm a big Cub fan, and so I still stay up with them. But that's why they're winning right now. They're all having fun, and Rafael Ortega may be the center fielder the Cubs been waiting for. Great second half. He's got some pop. He can play great defense. So excited. I've actually enjoyed watching some more games here lately, not just because they're winning. Just because.
Don't you wish every game they were always playing like they're, it could be their last?
I do.
Trying to make the team.
Mm-hmm.
That's why minor league baseball is so great at the AA, AAA level. Was. I haven't seen it in a while, but it's it's great when they're competing, and they're nothing's guaranteed and they're not locked into that long-term deal and they can sit around and do whatever. But
Yes.
Anyway, that's
no. I agree with you 100% on that. That's why I don't like long-term deals.
yeah.
Because I think it just
Everybody
makes
should be
everybody comfortable.
everybody should be year to year. But then
That'd be a lot of fun.
The lawyer fees would be crazy. We couldn't do that.
I know that would be a lot of fun. But so tight race, 2 weeks to go. Let's see what happens in the final 2 weeks. I'm sure we'll talk about it next week and update everybody. So we'll see what the Redbirds do this week. Can they make a push? But we'll take a quick break. We'll come back, and we're going to talk something Kyle Drone wanted to talk about last week. Ricky being Ricky and stolen bases, and talk about active leaders and how it's amazing where your active leader in Major League Baseball sits compared to Ricky Henderson. We'll talk about that and more when we come back here on Full Count at dingerbats.com and 103.5 ESPN Radio.
Today's episode of Full Count is brought to you by Bosco's Biscuits and Booze. If you need the taste of Southern Illinois, then visit the all-new Bosco's Biscuits and Booze, home of the world champion daily special. 2 large, all-natural, juicy white meat chicken breast, a side of the famous What the Hell biscuits, and a bucket of the cheapest beer in stock for only $6.99. Located at the corner of Old Milwaukee Boulevard, next to the Primo Hooer Hotel. Bosco's Biscuits and Booze. It's world champion food and cheap-ass booze.
The art of the stolen base. Is it a lost art? We're going to discuss that right here on Full Count this morning. Happy Saturday morning to you all. Thank you for joining us here on Full Count. Keith Gibson, Kyle Jerome with you as we talk about Ricky being Ricky. I know you're a big Ricky Henderson fan, Kyle Jerome, and as am I. And I know one of my good friends, Brian Turner, they call him the Wheeze, down in Fairfield, Illinois. He's a big Ricky Henderson fan as well. But let's talk about Ricky and the stolen bases. There's not going to be anybody like Ricky ever again, is there? It would be hard for me to imagine somebody like Ricky.
Never. No, not even close. I mean, I think he's got 3,000 hits, right?
Yes.
3,000 hits, 2,000 RBIs, or 2,000 runs scored. I mean, probably close to 2,000 RBIs as a leadoff hitter. He's got the record for most home runs leading off a game ever. He's got over 1,400 stolen bases.
Correct.
1,400. What's the closest number of any active player to him?
Hold on, I wanted to look something up because I think he's up there in walks too, isn't he?
Oh, I'm sure. I believe he's a 300 career hitter.
He's got 2,190 walks.
Yeah. By far the greatest leadoff hitter to ever play the game.
Agreed.
And the greatest base stealer.
Correct. He is a career 279 hitter.
That was close. That's close enough.
Yeah. But 25-year career, Ricky being Ricky. Just amazing numbers that he's putting up. And yeah, the leadoff home runs, that's something that, he
didn't, if I remember correctly, he didn't start playing baseball till high school.
Correct. He was only 3 home runs shy of 300. He had 297 home runs. So
really?
Yeah. But he had over 1,000 RBIs, 1,400 stolen bases. It's just amazing the numbers Ricky put up. It really is. Yeah. And 1,406, Kyle, stolen bases in a career.
Not bad. And with what he had 131 in 1 year?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Lou Brock had 938. Billy Hamilton, not that Billy Hamilton.
Lou Brock, where did the Cardinals get Lou Brock from?
Let's just disregard that topic right there. Ty Cobb with 897. Rock Reigns, 808.
Yeah.
Vince Coleman at 752. So a lot of great stolen base guys. Kyle Drone.
And Coleman had over 100 stolen base year. I think it was 106 1 year.
I think so too. Yeah. Was that 85? Is that right?
85 or 86, something like that. Right in there.
But let's talk a little bit about this. Actually, he had 3. Vince Coleman did. 85, 86, and 87.
Oh, really?
Yep. Okay. 110, 107, and 109, respectively.
Wow.
That's how you get to 752. So, Kyle Drone, let's talk stolen bases here. Do you know who the guy with the most active, the active player with the most stolen bases is currently?
I do because I looked it up. Like,
who is?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Elvis Andrus.
Elvis Andrus, 317, 13-year career, 32 years old. Ladies and gentlemen, he ranks 151st all time. Kyle, what happened to the stolen base? What happened to it?
Everybody sits and waits for the home run. I mean, the running game has gone away. There's very few players that use that as part of their game as it is. I mean, you've got Trout, you've got Marte, Elvis Andrus, which I never really thought of as a big base stealer, to be honest with you. Billy Hamilton, but never gets on base. So if his on base percentage was greater, I mean, he virtually never gets thrown out.
Right.
But he's got to get on base more. So, those are the ones I can really think of. Whit Merrifield with Kansas City. He I think leads the lead every year the last 3 years.
With like 35.
Yeah, 35, 40. It's going to be, you got to play a lot of years to catch 1,000, let alone 1,400, at that pace. So
what amazes me is guys like, you see Jazz Chisholm for the Marlins, a guy who likes to run. But my thought is, it's all about bigger, stronger, faster. These players want to get bigger, stronger, faster. Boy, I just missed the leadoff guy who could throw a bunt down and steal second and third. And, you worry about him getting on base because it's a double right out of the box. If he gets on, he hits a single, slap single, he's at second base, and you've got a guy in scoring position. You just don't see that. You don't see that hit and run anymore either. You don't see that small ball.
That was exactly what I was going to say. Or a guy that can get on, still second. Your second place hitter hits the ball the right side. He's on third with less than 2 outs. You're up 1-0.
Right.
That should happen a high percentage of times.
Especially in extra innings with putting a guy on second base.
Oh my God, yeah.
That's a whole different story. That's
right.
A whole different story and a whole different discussion.
Yeah.
So Billy Hamilton is 158th as the active with 313. Starling Marte, one of Dinger boys, 292, 32 years old, coming into free agency. I mean, these guys aren't even going to be close. Unfortunately, I don't see anybody in Major League Baseball right now that could even get to that 500 plateau, let alone 1,400.
You may never see another 500 stolen base guy again in the big leagues, just because, if you're that valuable and you get on base that much, they probably want to save you from trying to steal that much because of injury. I feel like Trout could reach it, but will they let him? I mean, I'm sure they'll give him, a certain amount of freedom, but as he becomes older and has more injuries, he may just shut himself down. It's not worth it.
Well, and that's the lost art of not only the stolen base, but of the leadoff hitter too. Because you don't see these guys a leadoff hitter like you had, Vince Coleman.
Right.
You don't see a leadoff hitter like you had, and even in today's game, of Dexter Fowler. And Dexter just hasn't been able to stay healthy lately. But in his younger years, I mean, he was a 25, 30 stolen base guy and could get on base.
Craig Biggio.
Right. Guys who would draw the walk or find a way to get on base. Biggio usually took a plunk. I mean, didn't he set the record from hit by pitch?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was your job, to get on base and let the guys behind you move you around and then eventually score. I mean, that was team baseball, to its greatest degree. And, I hope Ted Simmons is right that it does get back to that at some point. But until they start teaching that at the lower levels, it's not going to be translating into the higher levels. And they're not going to teach it at the lower levels if that's not what they're looking for at the higher levels. So hopefully that all, changes to some degree in the future, but, we'll see. They're going to have to get away from the launch angle stuff and all that.
And strikeouts.
Well, because you want a launch angle, that's what they're trying to generate. And if you're swinging up at the ball, you've got less chance of hitting the ball. So that's going to raise your strikeouts.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see what comes wrong. And may the game ever evolutionize and make that circle so we can get back to that, because I love small ball. Hey, we'll take a quick break. We'll come right back and finish up with a call of the bullpen right here on Full Count.
Today's episode of Full Count is brought to you by Bees Trees.
Bees Trees, your local ISA certified arborist with over 10 years experience, specializing in tree removal, tree trimming, and with free estimates. Call Greg Miller of Bees Trees today at 217-260-4551.
Back here on Full Count, making the call, the bullpen, asking for the closer. Keith Gibson, Kyle Drone with you. As we wrap up another episode of Full Count, we want to remind you that we do have 2 teams open for our Strikeout Hunger charity golf event happening at Iron Horse Country Club in Tuscola, Illinois on October 16th. So if you're interested, get in contact with us. Don't forget you can download the podcast at Amazon Music, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Podbean, iHeartRadio, YouTube, all your favorite streaming apps and devices. We're available right there for you. Or, of course, you can listen to us in Southern Illinois, 103.5 ESPN Radio. Kyle Drone, as we wrap it up, anything to close out the show today?
No, I think you covered it well.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. So, for my tag team partner, good friend, and owner of Dinger Bats, Kyle Drone, I am Keith Gibson. Have a great weekend, everybody. We will touch base with you next Saturday morning, 7 a.m. Don't forget, you can watch us live on Facebook at 7 a.m. Listen to us on 103.5 ESPN Radio or download the podcast at DingerBats.com. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next Saturday morning.